Chapter 3230. Ahaha. Do you think that Lu Ming and Autumn Moon can enter the top 3? What a joke, what a joke. Jiuju, you must have lost your mind. The Nine Blades Heavenly King laughed loudly. W. Then you think Chu Chengkong can enter the top 3? The Nine Extinction Heavenly King responded with a similarly mocking expression. Oh, then let's make a bet. Nine Blades Sky King said. Take a gamble? What are we betting? The Nine Absolutes Heavenly King asked. Starcrux Dawn. 10 Starcrux Dawn. Do you dare? Nine Blades Sky King said. The Nine Extremes Heavenly King's expression changed. By the side, the faces of the other people who were watching the show also changed. 10 Starcrux pills. This bet was a little too big. The Starcrux pill was an extremely precious divine pill. Even if a Divine Lord Realm powerhouse saw it, they would crave it and fight for it with all their might. This was because the Starcrux pill was extremely useful to Divine Lord powerhouses. It could increase their cultivation. It was priceless. Now the Nine Blades Celestial Lord had asked for 10 Starcrux elixirs. This was simply a huge gamble. What? Jiuju, have you lost your confidence and don't dare to gamble? The Nine Blades Heavenly King sneered. What kind of bet? What are the conditions for winning or losing? Nine Extinction Heavenly King Mansion asked. It's simple. Let's see which side can enter the top 3. If Chu Chengkong enters the top 3, I win. If Lu Ming or Autumn Moon enters the top 3, you win. If both of us have someone enter the top 3, or if neither of us enters the top 3, then it will be considered a draw. What do you think? Nine Blades Sky King said. Alright, I promise you. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King blurted out and agreed immediately. Jiuju, thank you for the 10 Starcrux pills. The Nine Sabers Heavenly King was overjoyed to see the Nine Sabers Heavenly King agree. Hee, you think you've won for sure? Don't slap your own face when the time comes. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King responded coldly. It was easier said than done to enter the top 3. Even if Lu Ming and Autumn Moon could not make it to the top 3, Chu Chengkong might not make it either. Di Jiani, Su Wuya, Qian Xingxian, none of them were easy to deal with. Behind them, Yi Jifan Lu Shuihan, and the others were still eyeing them covetously. Although the Nine Extinction Heavenly King did not think that he could win, he did not think that he would lose either. Alright, the top 10 spots have been confirmed. They are Emperor Sword 1. At this moment, the Imperial Preceptor spoke again, and announced the top 10 this time. Among the top 10 this time, the 27 Heavenly Kings' palaces took up 6 spots, breaking history. The top 10 will be granted the right to establish their own clan. After the competition, His Majesty the Sage Emperor will bestow upon them a decree to establish their own clan. The Imperial Advisor continued. Many people's eyes were burning with envy. After obtaining the mansion opening token, one would have the right to establish their own clan. How glorious would it be to be the ancestor of a clan? In the future, as long as they became stronger and stronger, they would eventually become the general's residence, the marquis residence, or even the heavenly monarch's residence. This was the dream of all young people. Don't be discouraged. The manor opening token doesn't necessarily belong to the top 10 of the Holy Court. As long as you work hard on your cultivation and contribute greatly to the Holy Court, you will still be able to obtain the manor opening token. Some older generation figures warned their juniors. Many young people were filled with confidence. They clenched their fists and swore to themselves that they would definitely obtain the manor opening token in the future. Alright, the top 10 has been confirmed. However, the challenges will continue. Now we will decide the top 3. However, the rules will be slightly changed for the next challenge. After each battle, you will be given time to recover. Once you have recovered to your peak state, you will continue the battle. The Imperial Preceptor announced. Lu Ming and the others' eyes lit up as they pondered. Alright, the challenges will continue. Lu Ming has already challenged before. Let's start from the 9th place. The 9th place is Sui Hanqiu. Who would you like to challenge? The Imperial Preceptor's voice was heard. Sui Hanqiu stepped onto the fighting ring and glanced at the crowd. Now Sui Hanqiu had 2 choices. The first was to challenge one of the top 3 and replace their position. Anyway, he had time to recover his strength. As long as he was strong enough, He would take over the top 3 and accept the challenges of others. The second was to learn from Lu Ming and challenge those who were ahead of him step by step. As long as he was strong enough and was confident that he could defeat his opponent, he would be able to absorb the battle chi of those who were ahead of him step by step, and improve the level of his battlesuit. However, there was a disadvantage to this. Once he failed, he would have no chance to be in the top 3. Sui Hanqiu's eyes flickered. He was thinking about which challenge to choose. I challenge Autumn Moon. Finally, Sui Hanqiu looked at Autumn Moon. Obviously, he chose the second option. He wanted to learn from Lu Ming and improve the level of his battlesuit step by step. Whoosh! Autumn Moon stepped onto the fighting ring and clenched his fist. The blade of domination appeared in his hand. Sui Hanqiu shouted coldly as he unsheathed his sword. The sound of the sword resounded in all directions. The two of them turned into 2 streaks of light and fought fiercely. Saber chi and sword chi were everywhere as they fought fiercely. However, after dozens of moves, Autumn Moon performed the god-killing light and began to gain the upper hand. After dozens of moves, Sui Hanqiu coughed out blood and was knocked out of the fighting ring by Autumn Moon. Sui Hanqiu was defeated. Autumn Moon absorbed Sui Hanqiu's battle chi, and the color of her battlesuit became darker. It was dark purple. Autumn Moon is so powerful. That divine light is terrifying. I've never heard of it before. Autumn Moon and Lu Ming are both dark horses. The fact that Autumn Moon had defeated Sui Hanqiu caused a lot of discussion. Next, Autumn Moon, who do you want to challenge? The National Master continued to ask. I want to challenge the Cliff of Oblivion. Autumn Moon's voice resounded in the entire arena. What? She wants to challenge the Cliff of Oblivion? This time, everyone was taken aback. Even Lu Ming was shocked. Autumn Moon wanted to challenge the Cliff of Oblivion. Why is this girl so impulsive? Lu Ming was also speechless. With Autumn Moon's strength, she might be able to win if she continued to challenge the Cliff of Oblivion step by step. If she won and upgraded her battlesuit, she would have a higher chance of winning if she challenged the top 3. But now, Autumn Moon wanted to challenge the Cliff of Oblivion. Their battlesuits were of the same level. Could Autumn Moon be a match for the Cliff of Oblivion? This girl is still inexperienced in the Jianghu. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Lu Ming knew that Autumn Moon wanted to challenge the Cliff of Oblivion because she wanted to be in the top 3 and help Lu Ming save Blue Merchant. However, Autumn Moon was still inexperienced. In the past, Autumn Moon was either with Lu Ming's parents or with Lu Ming himself. She did not have many opportunities to explore the outside world alone, so she was inexperienced. Naturally, she was not as scheming as Lu Ming, who was a wily old fox. Interesting. Su Wuya was also stunned. Then he stepped out and landed in the arena. Make your move. You're strong, but you're still not strong enough to challenge me, Su Wuya said. Even though he had seen Autumn Moon fight, he was still very confident. Su Wuya was the leader of the 10 heroes of the Holy Capital. He had the right to be confident. Chapter 32-31. Autumn Moon's body was shrouded in divine light as her aura reached its peak. Horan. 1. W. Aina. Com. Swoosh. A terrifying saber light slashed out toward Su Wuya. Autumn Moon used all her strength as soon as she made her move. She used all her divine power and her origin source secret technique, the god-killing ray. Boom. Su Wuya's body also released a terrifying aura. His violent divine power stirred up the air and turned into a terrifying shadow of a finger that blasted toward Autumn Moon. Their attacks collided, and an earth-shattering explosion erupted. Violent energy overflowed and spread in all directions. Lu Ming and the others quickly set up layers of defense to block the energy that spread out in all directions. Then 2 figures could be seen retreating. What? That Qiuyu's battle prowess is terrifying. Many people were shocked. Autumn Moon was able to fight Su Wuya to a draw. Not bad. Again. Su Wuya's voice rang out. Then his body suddenly charged toward Autumn Moon. As he charged, a crescent moon appeared above his head. The moonlight shone brightly and was unparalleled. Autumn Moon's expression changed as if she had been attacked. She quickly slashed with her scimitar. An endless blade radiance slashed toward the void. The blade radiance slashed the void and made an intense collision sound. Boundless finger. At this moment, Su Wuya used the boundless finger again. A huge shadow of a finger pointed toward Autumn Moon. The boundless finger was one of Su Wuya's divine skills. It was extremely powerful and had at least reached the 10th level. As for the crescent moon, it was his origin source secret technique. Su Wuya was indeed very powerful. Not only was his origin source secret technique powerful, but his other divine skills were also exceptionally powerful. Autumn Moon cried out. Her blade radiance flashed and filled the sky with blade radiance, breaking Su Wuya's attack. God-killing ray. Then Autumn Moon cried out. Her body emitted wisps of black light. These were all God-killing rays. In the previous battle, Autumn Moon had only used a wisp of God-killing ray. Now, Autumn Moon was using all her strength. Her entire body was enveloped by the God-killing ray. Then, all the God-killing rays gathered on the scimitar. Swoosh! The blade radiance was dazzling. Su Wuya's finger attack collapsed, and the blade radiance slashed the crescent moon, causing it to shake violently. It looked as if Qiuyu's saber was about to break the crescent moon apart. At this moment, countless people's faces turned grave. Especially the top 10 geniuses, such as Qian Xingxian and Chu Qingkong, looked even more solemn. Qiuyu's strength was beyond imagination. She was terrifyingly powerful. Even Su Wuya had been forced to such an extent. Boom! Suddenly, the aura on Su Wuya's body surged again, and a strong divine power gathered on the crescent moon. The moon's power suddenly became extremely bright. Qiuyu's body trembled as she floated backward. Fourth King of God Layer. Many people's faces turned solemn. Su Wuya's cultivation had reached the peak of the 4th layer of the King God realm. Previously, all the top geniuses were at the 3rd layer of the King God realm. It was difficult to break through each layer of the King God realm. This was especially true for the top geniuses. Breaking through from the 3rd layer of the King God realm to the 4th layer of the King God realm was equivalent to breaking through from a low-level King God realm to a mid-level King God realm. Once a person broke through, their strength would increase greatly. Su Wuya's cultivation had reached the 4th layer of the King God realm. His strength was extremely terrifying. Luminous moon in the sky. Su Wuya cried out. His body emitted a dazzling light. Every inch of his skin seemed to emit moonlight. This was another terrifying secret technique. Just like the ancient god body, this secret technique was called luminous moon body. I originally thought that I would only use my full strength at the last moment. I didn't expect that I would use my full strength now. Your strength has really made me look at you in a new light. Su Wuya looked at Autumn Moon with admiration. If he hadn't heard that Autumn Moon was taken, he would have been tempted. Su Wuya's strength had reached its peak when he used luminous moon body. Swoosh! Su Wuya turned into a ray of moonlight and shot toward Autumn Moon. The waning moon shone even brighter and shot toward Autumn Moon. The god-destroying light on Autumn Moon's body became even more intense. The god-destroying light flowed out of her eyes like streams of air. Autumn Moon increased her strength to the maximum. She turned into a ray of light and shot toward Su Wuya. Clang! Clang! A ray of divine light and a ray of moonlight collided in the sky. Every time they collided, violent air currents would surge out in all directions. Everyone held their breaths as they watched the battle in the sky. The two of them had fought for more than a dozen rounds. Bam! There was another loud explosion, and the two figures retreated quickly. Su Wuya no longer looked confident. Instead, he looked solemn. On the other hand, Autumn Moon's body trembled slightly. The god-destroying light on her body flickered. Autumn Moon is going to lose. Lu Ming sighed. Indeed, in the next moment, the god-destroying light on Autumn Moon's body trembled and disappeared without a trace. Although the god-destroying light was powerful, it was very difficult to control it. Moreover, it was very demanding on one's body and would cause a huge burden. Autumn Moon had overused the god-destroying light and could not take it anymore. I've lost. Autumn Moon shook her head and flew out of the fighting ring. She landed on the throne. Young master, I'm sorry. Autumn Moon has lost. Autumn Moon's apologetic voice rang in Lu Ming's ears. Silly girl, you've done well. Leave the rest to me. Lu Ming smiled. He felt that it was a pity. If Autumn Moon had more experience in the underworld, she might have been able to defeat Su Wuya when her battlesuit turned golden. Autumn Moon was very powerful. If she gave it her all, Lu Ming might not be a match for her. Also, Autumn Moon's origin divine power factor had only been awakened once. If she had awakened her origin divine power factor twice, she might be able to fight Su Wuya. Phew, seeing that Autumn Moon had admitted defeat, Su Wuya heaved a sigh of relief and relaxed. To be honest, the battle with Autumn Moon had consumed a lot of his energy and divine power. Su Wuya had absorbed most of Autumn Moon's battle chi. His battle suit had become much thicker, but it had not been upgraded. However, it had reached the limit of the purple battle suit. If he absorbed more, it would be upgraded. Su Wuya flew back to his throne and swallowed a divine pill to recover. The other geniuses also heaved a sigh of relief. Autumn Moon's defeat had lessened the pressure on them. However, they frowned again. Su Wuya's strength was terrifying. Many of them knew that they were no match for him. Since Su Wuya was no match for them, only Di Jiani and Qian Shengxian were left to challenge. After Autumn Moon's challenge, it was Lu Shuihan's turn. Lu Shuihan's eyes lit up as he started to think about who he should challenge. Chapter 32-32. Di Jiani, Su Wuya, Qian Shengxian, Chu Chengkong, and Yi Jifan stood in front of Shuihan. Di Jiani, fight with me. In the end, Shuihan challenged Di Jiani. Everyone was shocked. They had not expected Shuihan to challenge Di Jiani, who was ranked first. Previously, no one had challenged Di Jiani. Then Lu Shuihan had actually challenged Di Jiani. This caused everyone's eyes to be filled with anticipation. Di Jiani, who was ranked first in the initial batch, was an exceptional genius from a small thousand world. How powerful was he? Many people wanted to find out. Actually, Shuihan had thought it through carefully before challenging Di Jiani. Firstly, if he chose to fight his way up step by step and challenged Yi Jifan. Even if he defeated Yi Jifan and obtained his battle chi, he would not be able to upgrade his battle armor. Unless he could continue to defeat Chu Chengkong, or even Qian Shengxian, his battle armor would be upgraded to gold. Previously, Lu Ming had been able to upgrade his battle armor, because he had fought his way up from the 18th place to the top 10. He had defeated many top geniuses to upgrade his battle armor to gold. This showed how difficult it was to upgrade his battle armor to gold. However, he had no confidence in defeating Chu Chengkong and Qian Shengxian. Although Di Jiani was famous, there were not many people who had seen him fight. Hence, not many people knew his true fighting strength. Hence, Shuihan had challenged Di Jiani because he wanted to get lucky. Moreover, Di Jiani had too much battle chi. If he could obtain half of Di Jiani's battle chi, he might be able to upgrade his battle armor. Di Jiani looked calm. He took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. Attack! Di Jiani looked calm. His white robe and white hair made many girls scream. They had become Di Jiani's fans. Boundless ocean. Shuihan used all his strength and performed his origin secret skill. A vast ocean appeared, and the waves created 1,000 layers. The raging waves looked as though they were going to drown the entire sky. The waves, which were a few hundred meters tall, slammed towards Di Jiani. However, Di Jiani still stood there calmly as though he did not see Shuihan's attack. Why is Di Jiani not attacking? He did not even accumulate power. What is he trying to do? Don't tell me he's scared, silly. Many people discussed and thought that Di Jiani was scared. Clang. At this moment, Emperor Jiani moved. Not many people saw how Emperor Jiani moved. They only saw a flash of sword light that stunned everyone. Then the sea that covered the sky was split in half by the sword light. A figure retreated out of the fighting stage. It was Shuihan. You. Lu Shuihan opened his eyes wide and stared at Di Jiani in disbelief. Then, a bloody scar appeared between Lu Shuihan's eyebrows. The scar grew bigger and bigger until Lu Shuihan's body was finally split into two. Flowing water mark had fallen. The scene suddenly fell into silence. Everyone was stunned. A single slash. With just a single slash, the peerless genius Flowing Watermark was killed. Lu Shuihan's reputation was not undeserved. Yu Jiuqian of the 10 heroes of the Holy Capital had challenged Lu Shuihan, and was defeated by him. It could be said that Lu Shuihen's strength was extremely strong. He could be ranked at the top of all the geniuses. However, he was killed by a single sword strike. They were both peerless geniuses. How could this be? After a moment of silence, the scene burst into an uproar. Countless people were talking about it. Even some of the older generation, legendary figures of the big families, and the heavenly kings could not stay calm. It was not because Di Jiani's cultivation level was high. They could see that Di Jiani's cultivation level was also in the third layer of the king god realm, the same level as Lu Shuihen. However, Lu Shuihen was killed instantly. Great! The king spoke. This was the second time the king had spoken. The first time was because of Lu Ming. Around the fighting stage, Su Wuya, Qian Shengxian, Chu Qingkong, and the others narrowed their eyes in shock. Then they became extremely solemn. The origin ancient word. It is definitely the origin ancient word. This guy is using it again. In the sea of consciousness, measuring word formula shouted. Lu Ming's eyes also became solemn. Compared to the last time he saw Di Jiani in the Bone Sword tribe's secret territory, Di Jiani was undoubtedly stronger. Lu Ming guessed that Di Jiani's cultivation level was probably not in the third layer of the king god realm. He had just broken through recently. Moreover, Di Jiani was not only strong because of the origin ancient word. He was also strong in other aspects. He is so powerful. I am no match for him. Lu Ming thought to himself. He knew that even if he did his best, he would not be Di Jiani's match. Of course, it was because his cultivation level was too low. He was only in the first layer of the king god realm. If they were at the same level, Lu Ming was confident that he would not be inferior to others. However, this also reminded Lu Ming that he should not underestimate the heroes of the world. Just the Taishu dynasty alone had such terrifying geniuses. Compared to the entire chaotic universe, the Taishu dynasty was just a small place. How many geniuses were there in the vast chaotic universe? Lu Shuihen's figure appeared outside the fighting stage. His face was extremely gloomy and filled with fear. He was really frightened by Di Jiani's sword. Di Jiani had killed Lu Shuihen and absorbed half of his battle qi. The color of his battle armor became extremely rich. Then strands of golden radiance spread out. His battle armor had also been upgraded to a golden battle armor. The others' faces fell. Di Jiani was already extremely powerful. Now that his battle armor had been upgraded, who could be his match? Alright, Di Jiani has won this battle. Next, it's Yi Jifan's turn to challenge. The Imperial Master announced. Di Jiani retreated and Yi Jifan stepped onto the fighting stage. Su Wuya, let's fight. After Yi Jifan stepped onto the fighting stage, he directly challenged Su Wuya. This was not beyond the expectations of too many people. Among the 10 heroes of the Holy Capital, Su Wuya was ranked first while Yi Jifan was ranked second. The two of them had been competing for thousands of years. Yi Jifan was not willing to be ranked second, and had always wanted to be ranked first. Hence, he and Su Wuya had fought countless times. This time, on such an important occasion, it was normal for Yi Jifan to challenge Su Wuya. Since you know that you will lose, why humiliate yourself? Su Wuya stepped forward and said calmly, revealing his strong confidence. Let's fight. Yi Jifan spoke, his battle intent skyrocketing. A shocking aura burst forth from Yi Jifan. Thick divine power spread out like a wave, burning fiercely like a flame. Fourth layer of the king god realm. Many people were shocked. No wonder Yi Jifan was able to compete with Su Wuya for the #1 position of the 10 heroes of the Holy Capital. His cultivation level was also shocking. He had reached the 4th realm of the Divine King realm. Su Wuya's aura also exploded and their auras collided in the air. Then the two of them turned into 2 streaks of light and charged at each other. Chapter 32-33. Su Wuya and Yi Jifan were ranked first and second in the Holy Capital's 10 talents respectively. There was no doubt that both of them were very powerful. They were almost invincible among those of the same level. Both of them unleashed their origin source secret techniques. Various powerful divine skills and secret techniques were unleashed and clashed with one another. Everyone held their breaths and stared at the battle between the two of them. They are indeed powerful. Lu Ming nodded. Su Wuya and Yi Jifan had broken through to the 4th layer of the King God realm. Even if they were at the 3rd layer of the King God realm, few of the geniuses present were their match. Soon, the two of them had exchanged more than 200 blows. In the end, Su Wuya was more powerful and he forced Yi Jifan to retreat. In the end, Yi Jifan was knocked out of the fighting ring. Su Wuya had won the battle. Half of Yi Jifan's battle chi had been absorbed by Su Wuya. Su Wuya's battle armor shone with a golden light. Su Wuya's battle armor had successfully become a golden battle armor. Su Wuya and Di Jianyi's battle armor already contained rich battle chi. It was almost at the peak of the purple battle armor. After absorbing some of the battle chi, their battle armor had become a golden battle armor. In that case, there were 3 people who had become golden battle armor. They were Lu Ming, Di Jianyi, and Su Wuya. Lu Ming, Chu Qinkong, and Qian Shengxian frowned. Di Jianyi and Su Wuya were already powerful. With the golden battle armor, their strength was even more terrifying. The two of them had almost secured 2 of the top 3 spots. Now the 3 of them could only compete for the 3rd spot. Now it's Chu Qinkong's turn to challenge. The national master announced. Chu Qinkong came to the fighting ring and looked directly at Qian Shengxian. Needless to say, he was going to challenge Qian Shengxian. Qian Shengxian flew up and stood on the fighting ring. One of the top 3 spots is destined to be mine. Chu Qinkong was very confident and said in an overbearing manner. Divine light kept flowing out of his armor, making him look very majestic. That's what I wanted to say to you. Come on. Qian Shengxian said indifferently. She was also full of confidence. Boom. Chu Qinkong took a step forward like a giant beast. The whole fighting ring shook. A huge spear radiance shot up to the sky and pressed down on Qian Shengxian like a mountain. 10,000 flower kill. 1,000 Shengxian waved her hand and countless flower petals appeared. These petals were of different colors. They were the petals of countless different flowers mixed together. The petals merged together to form a giant palm that grabbed downward. A giant hand and a giant claw collided with each other. In an instant, divine light shot out in all directions, and energy waves swept out in all directions. The two continued to exchange a few blows, but there was no clear victor. Then the two of them used their origin source secret techniques, and engaged in an even more intense battle. War God Body, War God Strike. Chu Qinkong let out a long roar. Divine light radiated from his body and began to swell. He looked like a real god of war. The divine war physique combined with the divine war strike was extremely powerful. It swept out in all directions, peerless and unparalleled. Qian Shengxian frowned. Countless flower petals appeared around her body. These petals could change into various forms. They could change into offensive and defensive forms. They could change into various forms. However, it was still difficult to resist Chu Qinkong's attack. The war god strike was extremely powerful. As the spear swept out, the petals exploded. I told you you are no match for me. Chu Qinkong was overbearing. He stepped forward and waved his spear. A long river appeared. This was the ultimate move of the war god strike. The way of the spear became a river. With the help of the overbearing god spear, the attack was extremely powerful. The ancestor of the war god family was known as the war god. It was a title that he earned from killing on the battlefield. He was known for his offensive power. Every move he made had terrifying offensive power. Obviously, Chu Qinkong had brought this offensive power to the extreme. Qian Xingxuan's body trembled slightly, and she kept retreating. Chu Qinkong, I have to admit that you are very powerful. I wanted to fight with you at the same level, but it seems that I can't. Then let's go all out. Qian Shengxian shouted. Before she finished speaking, a powerful aura rushed out from her body. 4th layer of the King God realm. This was the aura of a 4th layer of the King God realm. Qian Xingxuan's cultivation had also reached the 4th layer of the King God realm. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then he understood. The Thousand Saints Heavenly King Mansion had experts like the Thousand Saints Old Heavenly King. With the help of the Thousand Saints Old Heavenly King, Lu Ming and the others had improved greatly in just a few decades. Qian Shengxian was the genius of the Thousand Saints Heavenly King Mansion. With the help of the Heavenly King Old Heavenly King Mansion, it was normal for her to reach the 4th layer of the King God realm. As the fourth layer of the king god realm erupted, the petals around Qian Shengxian shone brightly and turned into a giant hammer. Boom! The spear light vibrated. Chu Qingkong's body shook violently and he was pushed back. Qian Shengxian took the opportunity to attack. Chu Qingkong is going to lose. Qian Shengxian is a genius of the fourth layer of the king god realm. As a genius, it is difficult to defeat someone of a higher level. Chu Qingkong is not going to be a match for her. Many people were discussing and they thought that Chu Qingkong was going to lose. 9 sabers, it seems like you are going to lose the bet with me. The 9 sabers heavenly king, looking at the 9 sabers heavenly king with a smile. It is too early for you to be happy. The 9 sabers heavenly king said faintly. There was not a trace of worry on his face. The 9 sabers heavenly king's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Chu Qingkong still had a trump card? As expected, there was a huge change in the fighting ring. After Chu Qingkong retreated a distance, he roared. A terrifying aura erupted from his body. His strong divine power was like an erupting volcano. His godly power had increased by a large margin. However, Chu Qingkong's cultivation was still at the 3rd layer of the king god realm, but the strength of his divine power was much stronger than before. What was going on? His cultivation did not change, but his divine power had increased tremendously. Look at Chu Qingkong's dantian. Suddenly someone exclaimed. Everyone's attention was drawn to Chu Qingkong's dantian, even without his exclamation. 2 balls of hot light appeared in Chu Qingkong's dantian. The crowd could vaguely see 2 star nuclei. They were the shadows of Chu Qingkong's star nuclei that appeared when he activated them to the extreme. However, the color of the star nuclei was different. 2 star cores of different colors and 2 different types of divine power. Furthermore, the size of these 2 star cores was larger than the size of the other star cores. Lu Ming's pupils shrank and he was shocked. Chu Qingkong had also mastered 2 different kinds of divine powers. Could it be that he had also practiced the universal Tao technique, just like Yi Futian? But how was that possible? Jingyu had found the universe myriad Tao scripture in an ancient relic, and he had never taught it to anyone else. Now only he, Autumn Moon, and Lu Shenhuang had mastered the universe myriad Tao scripture. Chapter 32-34. The fact that Chu Qingkong had 2 star cores and controlled 2 different kinds of divine powers had shocked most people. It's an ancient cultivation method. Chu Qingkong is cultivating an ancient cultivation method. Some seniors exclaimed. An ancient cultivation method? Many people were puzzled and asked the seniors for advice. The seniors began to explain. Countless years ago, perhaps during the incipient God era or the early Heavenly Palace era, there was a cultivation method that allowed one to cultivate multiple kinds of divine powers at the same time. 2 kinds, 3 kinds, 4 kinds. Cultivating multiple kinds of divine powers at the same time allowed one to condense multiple star cores. Moreover, the size of the star cores was larger than that of ordinary people, and their divine powers were more abundant. However, this cultivation method was very dangerous. One careless move could cause one's body to explode and die. Moreover, it had high requirements for the cultivator. Only peerless geniuses could cultivate it. In particular, this cultivation method was very slow to improve one's cultivation base, and it was very difficult to break through the bottleneck. The further one cultivated, the harder it was to cultivate. Therefore, with the passage of time, this kind of cultivation method was slowly eliminated. By now, this kind of cultivation method had almost disappeared, and very few people practiced it. However, there was a benefit to this cultivation method. After cultivating it, one's divine power would be very abundant and powerful. With multiple kinds of divine powers at the same time, one's combat strength would be unparalleled. It was already very rare for Chu Qingkong to cultivate to this level. An ancient cultivation method? Is the universe myriad Tao scripture also an ancient cultivation method? Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. However, the universe myriad Tao scripture was a little different from what the old man had said. The universe myriad Tao scripture had no shortcomings other than the fact that it required multiple kinds of divine powers to cultivate at the same time. Another difference was that the star cores cultivated by the universe myriad Dao scripture were not larger than those of others. Therefore, Lu Ming was very puzzled. It's an ancient cultivation method. The 9 extremities heavenly king's face changed. Haha, 9 extremities, you're going to lose. The 9 extremities heavenly king sneered. At this moment, the situation in the fighting ring had changed significantly. Chu Qinkong used the ancient cultivation method and unleashed his full power. His strength skyrocketed and surpassed Qian Shengxian. Both of Chu Qinkong's astral cores were larger than the others. Although the second type of divine power had not awakened the secret arts of origin, it had awakened the divine power of origin factor. Moreover, it had been awakened twice. This allowed Chu Qinkong to fight against someone who was at a higher level than him. He had crossed the threshold of the 4th king of God realm and forced Qian Shengxian to retreat. Qian Shengxian is going to lose. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Qian Shengxian wasn't as strong as Su Wuya and Yi Jifan. Even though she had the strength of the 4th godly king layer, she wasn't as strong as him. The two exchanged more than a dozen moves. Qian Shengxian was hit by Chu Qinkong's long river of spear. She was knocked out of the battle platform and spat out a mouthful of blood. Qian Shengxian was defeated. Half of Qian Shengshuan's battle qi had been absorbed by Chu Qinkong. However, Chu Qinkong did not have enough battle qi to begin with. Even after absorbing half of the battle qi from the Thousand Saint Cliff, his battle suit did not upgrade to a golden one. It was still a purple one. Chu Qinkong is so powerful. He can actually fight someone who is at a higher level than him. Many people exclaimed. It was normal for such a supreme talent to fight someone who was at a higher level than him. However, if his opponent was a supreme talent of the same level, it would be abnormal and terrifying for him to fight someone who was at a higher level than him. Chu Qinkong is indeed the strongest supreme talent in the history of the War God clan. Other than the mysterious Di Jiani, no one is his match. Even Su Wuya is no match for him at the same level. Don't forget about Lu Ming. He is only in the 1st godly king layer. Yes, there is still Lu Ming and Qiuyu. They are also very powerful. They might be able to put up a fight. There are too many supreme talents this time. The 10 heroes of the holy capital are being suppressed like this? While the crowd was discussing, the 9 sabers heavenly king laughed in high spirits. Juju, it seems like you have lost the bet. Now that Chu Qinkong is in the top 3, you can give me your 10 Starcrux elixirs. The 9 sabers heavenly king laughed and looked at the 9 sabers heavenly king. 9 sabers, it's too early for you to be happy. The battle isn't over yet. The 9 sabers heavenly king said with a gloomy face. Do you still have hope? Qian Shengxian is obviously weaker than Di Jiani, Su Wuya and Chu Qinkong. Other than her, there is still Lu Ming to challenge. Do you think Lu Ming can make it to the top 3? Dream on. The 9 sabers heavenly king sneered. The 9 sabers heavenly king remained silent. In fact, he was not confident either. Although Lu Ming was strong, his cultivation was too low. He was only in the 1st godly king layer, which was 2 levels lower than the other supreme talents. They were all supreme talents. 2 levels of cultivation was almost insurmountable. Juju, are you trying to cheat? There are so many people watching. If you want to cheat, I can't do anything to you. The 9 sabers heavenly king continued to mock. After the battle, if I lose, I will give it to you. The 9 sabers heavenly king said. Hee, I will let you wait a little longer. The 9 sabers heavenly king smiled faintly. Chu Qinkong has won this battle. Next, it is Qian Shengshuan's turn. The Grand Master announced. Qian Shengxian swallowed a divine elixir and adjusted her breath. When she was at her peak, she stepped out and went to the fighting ring. There were only 3 people she could challenge. Di Jiani, Su Wuya, and Chu Qinkong. However, she had just been defeated by Chu Qinkong. Obviously, she could not continue to challenge Chu Qinkong. She only had Di Jiani and Su Wuya left. Qian Shengxian frowned. She was not confident in defeating any of the remaining people. In the end, she chose Su Wuya. However, the outcome of this battle was already decided. Su Wuya was stronger than Qian Shengxian. Moreover, Su Wuya had the support of the golden armor, and his combat strength was even stronger. He could completely crush Qian Shengxian and defeat her. After defeating Qian Shengxian, Su Wuya did not return to his seat. That was because it was his turn to challenge. He only had one target, and that was Di Jiani. Di Jiani, come down and fight. Let's see who will be number 1 this time. Su Wuya looked at Di Jiani. Swoosh. Di Jiani turned into a sword radiance and landed on the fighting ring. Everyone's eyes were filled with anticipation. This might very well be the pinnacle battle this time. Who would be number 1 this time? Moreover, the color of the golden armor was the same. It would be a battle of strength. Di Jiani's cultivation is only at the 3rd heaven of the King God realm. Can he be a match for Su Wuya? Many people had such doubts. Boom. Suddenly, a fierce battle broke out. The two of them attacked at the same time. A shocking sword radiance collided with a finger shadow. Boom. After a few explosions, a figure retreated quickly. It was Su Wuya. In the first few moves, Su Wuya was at a disadvantage. Chapter 32-35. Bright moon in the sky. Su Wuya shouted. Moonlight seeped out of every inch of his skin, and a crescent moon appeared above his head. The crescent moon in the sky scattered the moonlight. Every ray of moonlight was filled with killing intent and terrifying attacking power. Su Wuya had used all his strength. Previously, he had used this to defeat Autumn Moon and Yi Jifan. Now, with the support of the golden armor, his power was undoubtedly even more terrifying. Clang! Suddenly, there was an earth-shattering sword chime from Di Jiani's body. Boundless sword chi burst out from his body. Swoosh! His entire body seemed to have turned into a ray of sword radiance and a combat sword as he charged toward Su Wuya. Wherever the sword radiance passed, the moonlight collapsed and the heavens and the earth seemed to be split into two. In the end, the sword radiance hit Su Wuya's crescent moon. Poof! The crescent moon trembled slightly before it was split into 2 halves. Su Wuya's body shook violently as he retreated. As he retreated, blood splattered in the air. Su Wuya retreated to the edge of the fighting ring before he stopped. His face was as pale as snow and there was a deep sword wound on his chest. Fresh blood flowed out. Su Wuya had been severely injured. Everyone was shocked. They had only exchanged a few blows and Su Wuya had been severely injured. This was beyond everyone's imagination. Di Jiani's combat strength is too terrifying. He is only in King God Realm 3rd heaven. He defeated Su Wuya in such a short period of time. His combat strength must have surpassed Chu Qinkong's when he was at the same level. Definitely. Everyone discussed in shock. This made Chu Qinkong very unhappy. However, he looked at Di Jiani with a grave expression. Primordial Spirit Sword Body. Di Jiani might have cultivated the primordial spirit sword body. Suddenly, a sword principle expert exclaimed in shock. What? Primordial spirit sword body? No wonder it is so terrifying. The others gasped. In the primitive universe, there were various body constitutions. Of course, most of these body constitutions were not inborn. They were acquired through cultivation. It was equivalent to a secret skill, known as the secret skill of the physique. For example, Lu Ming cultivated the ancient god body, Wu Fan cultivated the ancient shaman body, Chu Qinkong cultivated the war god body, Su Wuya cultivated the bright moon body. In fact, all of these were obtained through cultivation. They were all secret techniques. However, this kind of secret technique was extremely difficult to cultivate. Some required coincidences, and some required heaven-defying talent. Some races were naturally suited for certain physique secret techniques. For example, the descendants of the ancient gods that Lu Ming had met before were born with the bloodline of the ancient gods. It was much easier for them to cultivate the ancient god body. As for others, it was much more difficult for them to cultivate. They needed opportunities. There were different types of unique constitution secret arts, and some of them were easier to cultivate. Naturally, the prowess of each of them differed greatly as well. The ancient god body that Lu Ming cultivated was actually one of the easiest constitution secret techniques to cultivate. Apart from Lu Ming himself, he had also seen many people cultivate the ancient god body. Of course, it was relatively easy to get started with the ancient god body, but it was extremely difficult to cultivate it to the peak. Most people were stuck between the red-armored ancient god body, orange-armored ancient god body, and yellow-armored ancient god body. Lu Ming did not see anyone who had cultivated to the green-armored ancient god body. As for the original spirit sword body that Emperor Jiani had cultivated, it was extremely difficult and dangerous to cultivate. However, once it was cultivated, its prowess was extremely terrifying. It was even more powerful than the ancient god body, ancient shaman body, and war god body. Of course, this was because the ancient god body had not been cultivated to the peak. If the ancient god body was cultivated to the blue-armored ancient god body or purple-armored ancient god body, its prowess would be earth-shattering. It was said that there were many other constitution secret techniques in the primitive universe. Once cultivated, the prowess would be earth-shattering and unparalleled. They could suppress an era. Of course, the conditions to practice such a physique secret technique were also extremely harsh. Talent, perseverance, resources, and opportunities were all indispensable. You've lost. Emperor Jiani stood in the middle of the fighting ring and said nonchalantly, I've lost. Su Wuya sighed and turned to leave the fighting ring. His origin secret technique had been broken and he was severely injured. He no longer had the strength to fight with Emperor Jiani, and he might as well admit defeat. After Su Wuyao admitted defeat, the color of his battle suit returned to purple. The color of Emperor Jiani's battle suit became even more dazzling. Now Emperor Jiani was ranked first. Su Wuya was ranked second. Chu Qingkong was ranked third. Since Emperor Jiani was ranked first, there was naturally no need to challenge him. Now the only person who was qualified to challenge was Lu Ming. Lu Ming, do you want to continue? The Grand Master's voice was heard as he asked Lu Ming. Of course. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. There was a terrifying fighting spirit that exploded from his body. Fight incantation, 5 times fighting strength. While Emperor Jiani and Su Wuya were fighting, Lu Ming had already tried to trigger the fight incantation to increase his fighting strength by 5 times. After all, the success rate of the fight incantation was only 10%. If it were to be triggered during the big fight, it would be too late. Hence, it was best to trigger it in advance. Who would Lu Ming challenge? Many people were looking forward to it. Su Wuya's battle suit had reverted from gold to purple. His strength had been greatly reduced, and he might not be stronger than Chu Qingkong. There was more suspense. Would Lu Ming challenge Chu Qingkong or Su Wuya? Chu Qingkong, come down and fight me. A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he pointed it at Chu Qingkong. As expected, he wants to challenge Chu Qingkong. Many people were enlightened. Previously, Lu Ming had been targeted by Chu Qingkong. Now it was normal for Lu Ming to challenge Chu Qingkong. Ha ha. Chu Qingkong sneered. He stepped onto the fighting ring and said, very good, very good. I couldn't challenge you before, but you challenged me. I can torture you to death and get back some interest from my war god family's supreme talent. You will be the one to be tortured to death. If you are capable, don't admit defeat. Let's fight to the death. Lu Ming said. Fight to the death. You were chased by me like a stray dog. Now you think you can fight me just because you have upgraded to a golden battle suit? How naive. Fine, let's fight to the death. Chu Qingkong said coldly. His aura also became violent. His body swelled rapidly and turned into the body of the war god. War god strike. Chu Qingkong shouted and waved his long spear. A huge war god appeared and charged at Lu Ming. Ancient god body, divine dragon Dharma Laksana. Lu Ming turned into a green-armored ancient god that was a few hundred meters tall. Then 36 nine-clawed dragons appeared and charged at Chu Qingkong. At the same time, the gate of domination appeared above Lu Ming's head and blasted at Chu Qingkong. At this moment, the ability that Lu Ming displayed was much stronger than that of the previous battle. Lu Ming had the support of the golden battle suit and the battle incantation that increased his combat strength by 5 times. He was terrifyingly strong. A series of attacks landed on the huge war god. The body of the war god was full of cracks and exploded. Chapter 32-36. The gate of domination continued to press down on Chu Qingkong. Chu Qingkong's expression changed drastically. Overbearing god spear explode. Chu Qingkong shouted as he performed his origin secret technique, overbearing god spear. At the same time, the 2 star cores in his body began to operate rapidly, pushing his strength to the peak in an instant. He did not use his full strength earlier because he looked down on Lu Ming. He thought that he did not need to use his full strength to deal with Lu Ming. However, he knew that he was wrong as soon as they started to fight. Very wrong. Lu Ming was terrifyingly strong. He defeated his attack in an instant. River of Spear Principles. Chu Chengkong roared as he thrust his spear forward. Endless spear radiance gathered into a long river and rushed toward Lu Ming. Boom. The River of Spear Principles hit the Gate of Domination with a loud bang. The Gate of Domination shook but was blocked in the end. Amidst the endless waves of energy, Lu Ming and Chu Chengkong retreated backward at the same time. What? It's a draw! Someone exclaimed in disbelief. Lu Ming and Chu Chengkong had exchanged a few moves in a row. It was a dazzling scene. Only now did the crowd realize what had happened. They were extremely shocked. In their minds, Chu Chengkong should be able to suppress Lu Ming with an absolute advantage. Even if Lu Ming had the golden armor, he would not be able to do so. However, the result was different from what they had imagined. Lu Ming's combat strength is so strong. It's incredible. Chu Chengkong is using his full strength. It's incredible. Lu Ming is only in the first King God realm. He ran away not because he was afraid of fighting Chu Chengkong, but because he didn't want to. Many people exclaimed. Chu Chengkong was someone who could defeat Qian Shengxian. It was unbelievable that he could not suppress Lu Ming even though he had used his full strength. Even with the golden armor, it was impossible to increase his combat strength by so much. Obviously, Lu Ming's combat strength was amazing. They knew that Lu Ming ran away not because he was afraid of fighting Chu Chengkong, but because he did not want to. With Lu Ming's strength, he could totally put up a fight. Those who had underestimated Lu Ming and thought that Lu Ming would not dare to fight against Chu Chengkong felt their faces burning. There's hope. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King's eyes lit up. As for the 9 Blades Heavenly King, his face turned gloomy. I don't believe it. Kill. Chu Chengkong roared and pushed his combat strength to the peak. He charged at Lu Ming again. Bang. Bang. Lu Ming's gigantic body stepped forward, causing the platform to tremble. The Gate of Domination emitted an ancient radiance, suppressing forward. Meanwhile, Lu Ming brandished his spear and charged forward. The 2 giants fought fiercely on the battle platform. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. After dozens of moves, the 2 of them were still unable to determine a victor. One had to admit that Chu Chengkong's combat strength was extremely powerful. If it were not for the golden armor, Lu Ming would not have been his match. Of course, this was also because Lu Ming's cultivation was too weak. He was 2 levels lower than Chu Chengkong. Although they were both peerless geniuses, the gap between each level was extremely difficult to overcome. That was because one had all kinds of terrifying divine skills and secret skills, and so did the other party. It was too difficult to fight someone with a higher level. Strike of the God of War, mighty army. Chu Chengkong roared. His spear vibrated. Numerous gods of war appeared in the void. They rode on war horses and brandished their spears, charging at Lu Ming. The entire sky was shaking. It was filled with an oppressive aura, as if it was going to crush Lu Ming completely. Do you think you're the only one who knows Strike of the God of War? Take this. Strike of the God of War, mighty army. Lu Ming roared coldly. He brandished his spear. Numerous gods of war appeared in the sky. They rode on war horses and charged at Chu Chengkong. After so many years of cultivation, Lu Ming had cultivated Strike of the God of War to the 9th level. Its power was no less than the apocalyptic 3 strikes. What? You know it too? Chu Chengkong roared. His eyes were wide open in disbelief. Lu Ming had also mastered Strike of the God of War. Damn it! How dare you cultivate the secret skill of the God of War family? Outside, an elder of the God of War family shouted angrily with cold killing intent. Rumble! Thousands of war horses collided with each other, causing explosions. However, Chu Chengkong's Strike of the God of War was obviously more advanced. It had reached the 10th level and began to suppress Lu Ming. Thief! So what if you've secretly learned the secret skill of the God of War family? Without the support of the overbearing God Spear, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Chu Qinkong roared. He brandished the overbearing god spear, and the gods of war became more powerful. Overbearing god spear, is it? Sorry, I have it too, Lu Ming said calmly. The divine spear in his hand disappeared. It was replaced by a stone spear that was filled with an ancient aura. It was exactly the same as the overbearing god spear in Chu Qinkong's hand. Overbearing god. Overbearing god spear. How can you have the overbearing god spear? This time, Chu Qinkong's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. He screamed hysterically. It was unbelievable to the extreme. Not only him, but everyone was stunned. That's the overbearing god spear. Impossible. How can he have the overbearing god spear? 2 origin secret skills. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Lu Ming is also cultivating the ancient cultivation method. It must be. Countless people shouted, unable to remain calm. They thought that Lu Ming was also cultivating the ancient cultivation method. Since he had mastered 2 different origin secret skills, it meant that he had mastered 2 different divine powers. Only the ancient cultivation method could control several different kinds of divine power. No wonder. No wonder Lu Ming's combat strength is so strong. It turns out that he's also cultivating the ancient cultivation method. Many people were enlightened. They thought that Lu Ming's combat strength was so strong because he had cultivated the ancient cultivation method. Impossible. Damn it. It's impossible. Some elders of the war god family were even more agitated. They were already so old, but they were still shouting like pigs. It was really hard to accept. Among the younger generation, Chu Qinkong was the only one in the entire war god family who could cultivate the overbearing god divine power and awaken the overbearing god spear from it. However, Lu Ming, an outsider, had also awakened the overbearing god spear. How ironic was this? When Chu Qinkong saw Lu Ming use the overbearing god spear, he was stunned and in a daze. How could Lu Ming miss such an opportunity? In the measure formula, a steady stream of divine power flowed into Lu Ming's body. Then, this divine power rushed madly toward the overbearing god spear and the gate of domination. Starburst. Lu Ming stabbed out with his spear, performing the strongest move of the 3 strokes of annihilation. After using the overbearing god spear, the power of the spear Dao divine skill would undoubtedly be stronger. At the same time, the gate of domination emitted light and suppressed Chu Qinkong like a divine mountain. The 2 origin secret skills attacked together. Chu Qinkong was shocked and hurriedly put up a defense. However, it was still too late. The violent destructive power swept out and shrouded him, breaking through his layers of defense. Then the gate of domination pressed down. Boom! Chu Qinkong screamed. The bones in his hand were broken, and he vomited blood. His body was sent flying. Dozens of bones in his body were broken. Chapter 32-37. Chu Qinkong flew out and landed heavily on the fighting ring. He vomited blood and dozens of bones were broken. He could not even maintain the war god body and the overbearing god spear. The overbearing god spear was the first to disappear. His body returned to normal. Buzz. Lu Ming did not plan to let Chu Qinkong go. The gate of domination shrunk and continued to press down on Chu Qinkong. Chu Qinkong's body was bent like a bow. All his internal organs were shattered. Then Lu Ming stepped on Chu Qinkong's face. Let me go. Chu Qinkong struggled crazily and kept roaring. His eyes were full of humiliation. He was a dignified genius, the strongest successor in the history of the war god family. Lu Ming had stepped on the giant's face in front of everyone. This was a great insult. He could not wait to tear Lu Ming into pieces. Bang! Lu Ming stomped hard on Chu Qinkong's face. Chu Qinkong's face was immediately in close contact with the ground. Blood splattered everywhere and all his teeth flew out. Just the word miserable was enough to describe it. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your whole family. You damn bastard. Chu Qinkong roared hysterically. He had gone completely crazy. He was so mighty before, looking down on Lu Ming like an ant. He did not take Lu Ming seriously, and even said that he would torture Lu Ming to death. But the result was the complete opposite. It was a great contrast. As proud as he was, he could not take it anymore. His self-esteem was severely damaged. In comparison, he was a joke, a laughable joke. This brat deserves to die. He deserves to die. Outside, the war god family's elders also roared angrily. They were like rampaging lions, their hair and beards all fluttering about. What? The younger generation is no match for him, so the older generation wants to step up. Is this the style of the war god family? 9 Extremes Heavenly King glanced at the people of the war god family coldly. His tone was full of sarcasm, which made the people of the war god family pale. Jiu Dao, it seems that you are happy for nothing. Now that Chu Chengkong has been defeated, and Lu Ming has entered the top 3, you are the loser of our bet. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King looked at the 9 Sabers Heavenly King with a smile on his face. To be honest, the fact that Lu Ming was able to defeat Chu Chengkong was also out of his expectations. At the moment, he was in a very good mood. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King's expression was extremely ugly. For a moment, he did not know how to respond. Oh, I got it. The competition isn't over yet. There might be more variables. 9 Extinction Heavenly King said coldly. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King was so angry that he almost vomited blood. What kind of change was there? Chu Chengkong was trampled under Lu Ming's feet like a dead dog. What else could there be? Even if Lu Ming continued to challenge Di Jiani and Su Wuya and was defeated, he would still be in 3rd place. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King was openly mocking him. 10 Starcrux pills, here you go. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King gritted his teeth and took out 10 Starcrux pills from his storage ring with trembling hands. He threw them to the 9 Extinction Heavenly King and his heart was bleeding. Even though he was a Heavenly King, 10 Starcrux pills were enough to make him bleed. It was like cutting his flesh. By the side, the other Sir God experts looked at the 9 Extinction Heavenly King with envy. An ordinary Sir God would not be able to get 1 Starcrux pill, let alone 10. Haha, you are too kind. I shall accept it then. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King laughed heartily and kept the pills. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King wished he could stomp on the 9 Extinction Heavenly King's smiling face. Bam! A huge shoe print was imprinted on Chu Chengkong's face. Chu Chengkong's face was deformed. He roared and struggled, wanting to blow himself up. Unfortunately, he was restrained by Lu Ming and could not blow himself up. How dare you threaten me? Apologize and admit your mistake. Lu Ming's face was cold as he stomped on Chu Chengkong with his shoe. Don't even think about it. I will tear you into pieces, Chu Chengkong roared. Bam! Bam! What greeted him was Lu Ming's ruthless kick. Enough, stop. Little brat, stop. The experts of the war god family outside roared. Their voices penetrated the spherical world and Lu Ming and the others could hear them. Nonsense. Let him apologize, admit his mistake, and say that he is trash. Lu Ming curled his lips. The other party wanted to kill him. Lu Ming would not show any mercy to such an enemy. He wanted to beat the other party until he was convinced. At first, Chu Chengkong was still struggling. Slowly he gave in. He had no choice. Lu Ming was stubborn and unafraid of his threats. If he continued to struggle, he would only be tortured by Lu Ming. For Chu Chengkong, this situation was like a year. I was wrong. I shouldn't have targeted you. I was blind. I am trash. In the end, Chu Chengkong said those words in humiliation. His heart was bleeding with every word he said. What a humiliation. What a great humiliation. The experts of the war god family all looked gloomy. They were emitting cold murderous intent. The war god family used to be glorious. They were known as the war god of the Taishu dynasty. Although they had declined, they were still proud of their identity. Chu Chengkong was known as the strongest genius in the history of the war god family. He represented the face of the war god family. Chu Chengkong was slapped in the face, which meant that the war god family was slapped in the face. One could imagine how they felt. That's more like it, Lu Ming smiled faintly. With a kick, he sent Chu Chengkong flying out of the fighting ring. Half of Chu Chengkong's battle chi was absorbed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming won this battle. After winning this battle, Lu Ming had already secured the top 3 positions. There was finally hope for Lan Shang. Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief and finally relaxed. To be honest, this battle was not easy. The genius of the Taishu dynasty was more powerful than Lu Ming had imagined. This time, Lu Ming was lucky. Plus, he had his own plan. He did not hunt for much battle chi at the beginning, so his ranking was low. He fought his way up and finally upgraded his battle suit. That was how he defeated Chu Qingkong. To be honest, if his battle suit was the same as Chu Qingkong's, he might not be able to defeat Chu Qingkong. In addition, Yi Jifan was also very strong. If he had not been defeated by Su Wuya, Lu Ming would not be confident to defeat him. No matter what, he had finally gotten into the top 3 this time. Lu Ming won this battle. Lu Ming, do you want to continue? The Grand Preceptor asked. Although the Preceptor was also very unhappy with Lu Ming, he was experienced and astute. There was no obvious change in his attitude. Everyone's heart trembled. Would Lu Ming continue to challenge him? They were looking forward to it. However, they were disappointed. Lu Ming shook his head and said, I'm not challenging anymore. Since he had gotten into the top 3, there was no need to continue. To be honest, he was not confident to continue. Su Wuya was at the peak of the 4th Heaven King God realm. Even with the help of the golden battle suit, it would be difficult for him to defeat Su Wuya. Not to mention Di Jiani. He was probably no match for him. His goal was to get into the top 3. That was enough. Chapter 32-38. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they heard that Lu Ming wasn't challenging anymore. They were afraid that Lu Ming would continue to challenge and reveal even more powerful trump cards. If that happened, they would be in a mess. He couldn't be any more perverted or they wouldn't be able to take it. Alright, then I announce that this meeting is over. You can come out now. The Imperial Advisor's voice reverberated throughout the hall. He then pressed his hand down. An ray of light fell on the spherical world. Instantly, a black vortex appeared above Lu Ming and the rest. Lu Ming and the rest rushed into the vortex. In the next instant, everyone in the spherical world appeared outside the spherical world. The Imperial Advisor waved his hand and kept the spherical world. The top 10 this time, come here to receive your Majesty's reward. The Imperial Advisor announced again. He then retreated behind the Saint Emperor and stood respectfully. Lu Ming, Di Jiani, Su Wuya, and the rest of the top 10 walked to the front of the Saint Emperor and bowed with cupped fists. Greetings, Your Majesty. Dispense with the formalities. The top 10 will receive a prefecture opening token. You will be given a token. The Saint Emperor waved his hand and 10 palace mates flew out. Each palace mate was holding a jade plate, and on the jade plate was a token. This was the prefecture opening token. In the Taishu dynasty, only those who had the prefecture opening token were qualified to open a prefecture and rule over a region. It was considered to be recognized by the government, and other experts would go and join them. You are all heroes of this era. I hope that you will develop well. I hope that there will be more heavenly kings in the future, the Saint Emperor said. Thank you, Your Majesty. Lu Ming and the rest thanked the Saint Emperor and kept the tokens. Countless people around them were envious, and they wished they could take the tokens for themselves. Also, the top 10 will receive a reward. You can make a request of me. Let's start with the 3rd place. Lu Ming, what do you want? Just say it. The Saint Emperor looked at Lu Ming with a smile. Your Majesty, Lu Ming's condition is that Your Majesty pardon Blue Merchant's crimes and release the Blue Merchant from the Imperial Guard. Lu Ming cupped his fists and stated his conditions. Blue Merchant? The Sage Emperor frowned in confusion. No, absolutely not. Blue Merchant has committed a great crime. How can he be pardoned? Before the Saint Emperor could speak, Wu Fan shouted. They had worked so hard to capture the Blue Merchant, so how could they let the Blue Merchant go? A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He looked at Wu Fan and shouted, Wu Fan, how dare you? His Majesty the Sacred Emperor hasn't said anything yet, and you're already talking nonsense. From your tone, are you ordering the Sacred Emperor around? As soon as he said this, everyone was shocked. Wu Fan's face turned pale in an instant, revealing a look of fear. He said in a trembling voice, You, don't slander me. I just feel that Blue Merchant is guilty of an extremely heinous crime. So what if he's guilty? You think that in the Taishu dynasty, The sacred emperor doesn't have the right to pardon someone, right? Lu Ming continued to shout. Wu Fan was so scared that he almost peed his pants. His body trembled and he was dumbfounded. This was a serious matter. Ordering the sacred emperor. Questioning the sacred emperor. Either of these was a crime punishable by death. In the Taishu dynasty, the sacred emperor was the sky and he could cover the sky with one hand. Even if Wu Fan was 100 times more courageous, he wouldn't dare to have such thoughts. He was used to being arrogant because his father was the state preceptor, and he was a peerless talent. He usually acted high and mighty and scolded everyone he met. Just now it was purely an instinctive reaction. He hated Lu Ming and Blue Merchant to the core. When he heard that Lu Ming wanted to pardon the Blue Merchant, he blurted it out without thinking. He didn't expect that Lu Ming would catch him red-handed. You don't talk nonsense. Wu Fan couldn't stop muttering, and he was about to cry. The sacred emperor frowned. The state preceptor was shocked when he saw this. Bastard, kneel down and beg for forgiveness from the sacred emperor. The state preceptor shouted at Wu Fan. Plop. Wu Fan's legs went soft, and he knelt down in front of the sacred emperor. He screamed, Your Majesty, please forgive me. I really didn't mean that. Even if you gave me 10,000 times more courage, I wouldn't dare to question Your Majesty. Please forgive me, Your Majesty. Wu Fan begged with tears and snot running down his face. Your Majesty, Wu Fan really didn't mean that. He was just anxious just now. The state preceptor also pleaded with the sacred emperor. Then the crown prince stepped forward and pleaded with him. The sacred emperor frowned and said, Let Wu Fan face the wall for 100 years as punishment. Thank you, Your Majesty. The state preceptor hurriedly thanked him and then scolded Wu Fan. Bastard, thank His Majesty for his kindness. Thank you, Your Majesty. Wu Fan kowtowed. The sacred emperor waved his hand and asked Wu Fan to leave. Wu Fan retreated to one side and roared in his heart. He was filled with endless killing intent. This time, he had really embarrassed himself. It was all Lu Ming's fault. It was all Lu Ming's fault. He blamed everything on Lu Ming. If he had the chance, he would definitely chop Lu Ming into pieces to vent his anger. What happened to Blue Merchant? When was he captured by the Imperial Guards? The sacred emperor asked. Immediately, a burly man in iron armor walked out and bowed. Your Majesty, it's like this. This burly man in iron armor was the commander of the Imperial Guards. He immediately told the sacred emperor about the Blue Merchant. I see, the sacred emperor muttered. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Since you have made this request, I will naturally fulfill it. I pardon Blue Merchant. Go bring Blue Merchant here. Yes. The commander of the Imperial Guards immediately ordered one of his subordinates to bring Blue Merchant here. This time, Wu Fan did not dare to say a word. Not long after, Blue Merchant was brought here. Father. Lan Ling was extremely excited when she saw Blue Merchant. She quickly ran over. Lu Ming also hurried over. He found that Blue Merchant was fine except for his weak aura and low spirit. It was obvious that he had not been punished in the Imperial Guards. This was most likely due to Holy Thousand Heavenly King. Greetings, Your Majesty. Blue Merchant bowed to the sacred emperor. Blue Merchant, we haven't seen each other for a long time, the sacred emperor said. I'm a cripple now. I don't dare to meet Your Majesty, Blue Merchant said. I'm curious. What's the relationship between you and Lu Ming? He actually wasted a request to save you, the sacred emperor said casually. Many people, including Blue Merchant himself, were shocked. The sacred emperor was the ruler of the Taishu dynasty. His casual words often had a deep meaning. Moreover, Blue Merchant's identity was too sensitive. He was Jingyu's teacher, and Jingyu had committed a serious crime back then. However, Lu Ming did not hesitate to waste a chance to make a request to the king in order to save Lan Shang. What was the relationship between Lu Ming and Blue Merchant? Or was there a relationship between Lu Ming and Jingyu? In an instant, many people thought of many things. Your Majesty, Lu Ming is my son-in-law. He and my daughter are in love with each other. Blue Merchant bowed and said. Oh, the sacred emperor said softly. At this moment, Lan Ling stepped forward and bowed. Then she removed her disguise and returned to her original appearance. Chapter 32-39. When Lan Ling regained her original appearance, many people's eyes lit up and they were stunned. You are indeed a peerless beauty. You and Lu Ming are a match made in heaven. The Saint Emperor smiled. Since he was the son-in-law of Blue Merchant, it made sense for him to save Blue Merchant at all costs. Hence no one thought much of it. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. At this time he could only brace himself and admit it. Otherwise, if the Saint Emperor suspected that he was related to him, it would be troublesome. Damn it. When Wu Fan saw Lan Ling's appearance, he roared in his heart. His eyes were burning with anger. When he thought of how a beauty like Lan Ling had become Lu Ming's woman, his eyes turned red with jealousy. Lu Ming is really lucky. I heard that Autumn Moon is also his wife. It's normal for a man to have multiple wives. However, it's rare to have two such beautiful women as his wife. It's a great joy in life. Many people sighed. Some young men, especially, were envious and jealous. Many young women sighed. Lu Ming was a supreme talent, and yet he was already married. It was a pity that they no longer had a chance. Su Wuya, do you have any requests? The Saint Emperor turned to Su Wuya and asked. After Su Wuya made a request, it was Emperor Sword's turn to make a request. Their requests would not be too excessive. Although they could make any request, they naturally would not make requests that were too excessive. If their requests made the Saint Emperor have a bad impression of them, they would lose more than they gained. Hence, the Saint Emperor agreed to their requests without hesitation. Alright, the conference has come to a successful end. The Taishu dynasty has produced many supreme talents. Congratulations. I will be holding a grand banquet for 3 days. Everyone come. The Saint Emperor's voice was heard. Thank you, Saint Emperor. Everyone cupped their fists and thanked him. The 3-day banquet was a celebration for the entire nation. After the banquet ended, Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, Lan Ling and Blue Merchant returned to their residence. They would report to the Taishu Imperial Family Academy 3 days later. Lan Shu, how's your body? Lu Ming asked worriedly. He could see that Blue Merchant's body was not in good condition. His soul power was much weaker than before. My soul was injured in the battle that day. However, it's nothing serious. You don't have to worry. Blue Merchant smiled. Although Lan Shang said that, Lu Ming knew that Lan Shang's injuries were not light. Just as he had said, it would be very difficult for his soul to recover. Lan Shu, is there any way for you? Lu Ming asked. Treasures that can heal one's soul are extremely rare. There's no need to force it now. Lu Ming, your goal now is to cultivate well. Once your cultivation reaches a certain level, you can establish your own family and expand your influence. When you have enough strength, you can overturn Jing Yu's case. Blue Merchant said. Lu Ming nodded. Although he had obtained the token to establish a family and Autumn Moon had one as well, there were 2 tokens in total. However, if he wanted to establish a family, he had to increase his cultivation first. To establish a family, he had to be at least in the 4th layer of the Divine King realm, or even the 7th layer of the Divine King realm. Lu Ming's cultivation was still low. Your priority now is to cultivate well in the Taishu Imperial Family Academy, and use the resources there to increase your strength quickly. I will find some time to help you ask about the primordial idol. The primordial idol is a must for establishing a family, Blue Merchant said. Primordial idol? Lu Ming was puzzled. That's right. It's not that easy to establish a family. First, you have to obtain the token to establish a family. Then you have to obtain the primordial idol. Once the primordial idol is consecrated, it will emit a mysterious wave of energy. It has an extremely mysterious effect on comprehending the origin divine power factor and origin secret arts. Only the primordial idol can attract many sky prides and experts to join you. Only then can you develop your strength quickly. Otherwise, even if you can establish a family, it will be difficult to expand your influence. Blue Merchant explained. It can help one comprehend the origin divine power factor and origin secret arts. Lu Ming was shocked and immediately thought of the myriad god cliff in Starmoon Ancient City. The myriad god cliff had many idols that could help one comprehend the origin divine power factor. Primordial idol? Wait. Suddenly Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He thought of the idols that he had snatched from Blue Maple in the Ghosts region. Blue Maple's purpose in entering the Ghosts region was to obtain that idols. Later, Lu Ming led the former Dark Ape fighting tribe to chase Blue Maple away. Lu Ming also kept that idols. He never knew what the idols were used for. At this moment, Lu Ming's heart couldn't help but beat faster. Lan Shu, I have an idols here. Let me show you. Then, Lu Ming set up a formation in the courtyard. The primordial idol was too tall. If he took it out directly, it would be seen by people outside. This formation could conceal it. After setting up the formation, Lu Ming waved his hand and the idols that he had obtained from the Ghosts region fell in the courtyard. This is. After seeing the idols, Blue Merchant's eyes widened in surprise. He looked at them carefully. Then he was excited and ecstatic. He said in a trembling voice, Primordial idol. It's really the primordial idol. Lu Ming, how did you get the primordial idol? It's really the primordial idol. Lu Ming was also delighted. Then, he told Blue Merchant how he had obtained the primordial idol. I see. It seems like Blue Maple's purpose in entering the Ghosts region is to obtain the primordial idol. Blue Merchant nodded. Lu Ming also understood why Blue Maple had mustered so many people to enter the Ghosts region. Blue Maple was very ambitious. He wanted to enter the top 10 in the Taishu dynasty's assembly and obtain the qualification to open a condominium. Therefore, he wanted to obtain the primordial idol. Unfortunately, Blue Maple did everything he could, but in the end he didn't achieve any of the conditions. Lan Shu, is this really the primordial idol? Why does it feel so ordinary? Apart from the fact that it's very hard, there's no difference between it and other idols? Lu Ming asked the question that had been bothering him. He had studied this idol more than once, but he didn't find anything strange about it. If not for the fact that Lu Maple had worked so hard for this statue, Lu Ming would have thrown it away long ago. It's because it hasn't been consecrated yet. Blue Merchant said. Consecrated? Lu Ming was skeptical. It's true. According to legends, the primordial idol was created during the incipient god era. The ancestors used the bones of the primordial god spirit and other rare materials to create it. It's really magical. Until now, this method of creating it has been lost. That's why each primordial idol is priceless. However, if you want to make the primordial idol work magically, you need to consecrate it. Actually, it's very simple. You just need to find the items related to the primordial god spirit. For example, the flesh and blood of the primordial god spirit, the bones of the primordial god spirit, or the weapons that the primordial god spirit used to use. You can consecrate them to trigger the magical power of the primordial idol. Blue Merchant explained. Chapter 3240. Lu Ming finally knew how to consecrate the primordial deity statue. However, there was another problem. How could he get the flesh, bones, or weapons of the primordial deity statue? Ever since the Heavenly Palace era, the primordial deity statue had disappeared from the world. Some people said that the primordial deity statue had been extinct for a long time. Lu Ming told him about his worries. You don't have to worry about that. The Taishu dynasty controls a secret realm where these things exist. After a while, you should be able to explore it. Blue Merchant said. Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. It was fine as long as there was a way. Actually, powerful forces like the 27 Heavenly King Palaces all have primordial deity statues. That's why they can attract many experts to join them. I think your primordial deity statue is of a high grade. After it's consecrated, it will definitely attract many experts to join you. It will play a crucial role in your development. Blue Merchant said. Lu Ming nodded. The two chatted for a while. Lu Ming continued to ask Blue Merchant questions about cultivation. At this moment, the Taishu dynasty was in a state of turmoil. In a magnificent palace in the Crown Prince's palace. Your Highness, there are many geniuses this time. Should we try to recruit them? An old man asked the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince sat on the throne. He seemed to be in his 30s. He was dignified and had a domineering aura. "I'll leave it to you." The crown prince waved his hand. "Also, Lu Ming and Blue Merchant are close. I feel that he's not simple. Should we get rid of him?" The old man asked again. "Although Lu Ming is talented, he's only in the first layer of the king god realm. It doesn't matter if we get rid of him or not." The crown prince said casually. Lu Ming was talented, but a first layer of the king god realm was no different from an ant in the crown prince's eyes. He didn't care. "I think we should find a chance to get rid of him." At this moment, a woman's voice came from outside the palace. It was extremely seductive. Just her voice alone was enough to make a man burn. A gust of fragrant wind drifted over, and then, a graceful and beautiful woman walked in. If Lu Ming were here, he would definitely be shocked. The reason for that was because this woman was Dark Knight Rose. Lu Ming had left the Qin Tian Star Zone to investigate the theft of the 9 Extinction Divine Crystal. After entering the Chu Tian Star Zone, the first place he went to was the Devil Capital Mountain. The Dark Knight Rose was the daughter of the Dark Knight Demon King, the master of the Devil Capital Mountain. Back then, when the Devil Capital Mountain was destroyed, the Dark Knight Devil King died in battle. However, the Dark Knight Rose didn't die. Who would have thought that she would come to the Crown Prince's residence? Dark Knight Rose. The Crown Prince murmured as he looked at the Dark Knight Rose. His eyes were filled with passion. "Crown Prince Lu Ming must die." Dark Knight Rose said coldly. Her eyes were filled with killing intent and desire. "All right, Rose, if you want to kill him, then we'll kill him." The Crown Prince waved his hand and laughed. As he spoke, he got up and walked toward Dark Knight Rose. He reached out his arm and hugged Dark Knight Rose's slender waist. The old man's figure flashed and disappeared from the main hall. "Crown Prince, leave this matter to me," Dark Knight Rose said. All right, I'll listen to you. Come, let's get to work." The Crown Prince carried Dark Knight Rose and walked toward his room. In another huge hall in the Taishu dynasty's palace. This palace was the residence of the current second prince. At this moment, the second prince was discussing something with a few people. "Second prince, I think that Lu Ming's background is not simple. We have to investigate it thoroughly," someone suggested. "All right, I'll send someone to get close to Lu Ming and investigate Lu Ming's background. We'll see if we can recruit him for our own use. If it's not possible, we can eliminate him if necessary," the second prince said with a smile. His eyes shone with wisdom. "Great Void Saint Capital, Imperial Advisor's residence. Lu Ming, I swear that I'm not human if I don't kill you." Wu Fan let out a furious roar, causing some of the servants to tremble. At the same time, in the Lan family's residence, the War God clan's residence, and the Abysmal Heavenly King's residence, cold murderous intent filled the air. Someone said that they wanted to take Lu Ming's head. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Today was the day that Lu Ming and the rest would join the Great Void Imperial Sacred Court. The Great Void Saint Capital was vast and boundless. In the north of the Saint Capital, there was a huge residence. The gate of the residence was tall and majestic. On both sides of the gate, there were 18 stone pillars that were 1,000 feet tall. On each of the stone pillars, there was a divine dragon statue that was extremely majestic. This was the gate of the Great Void Imperial Sacred Court. Early in the morning, a large number of people gathered in front of the gate. They were the geniuses who were going to join the Great Void Imperial Sacred Court this time. In the meeting held by the Great Void Imperial Sacred Court, as long as one passed the first 2 rounds, they would be able to join the Great Void Imperial Sacred Court. There were more than 100,000 people who passed the first round. Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and Lan Ling were also in the crowd, waiting quietly. Rumble. The gate opened, and a few middle-aged men walked out. "We are the teachers of the Great Void Imperial Sacred Court. We welcome you to the Great Void Imperial Sacred Court. Now line up and register your information in order. Then, follow us to the Great Void Imperial Sacred Court," one of the tall and thin men said. Then, everyone lined up and registered their information one by one. After half a day, the registration was completed. Everyone followed the middle-aged men and entered the gate. As soon as they entered the gate, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. What came into view was a series of buildings. They were densely packed and incomparably majestic. The most eye-catching thing was the many palaces floating in mid-air, emitting divine light. Let me introduce to you. Under normal circumstances, killing is not allowed in the Great Void Imperial Sacred Court. If you want to kill, there is a fixed place. Also, in the Sacred Court, there is a group of prodigies who stayed to cultivate. However, some of the most powerful prodigies have already cultivated and entered the borders to train in the army. As for the previous group, almost all of them have left to train in various places. You also have to work hard to cultivate and improve. In the future, you will enter the army and other places to train, accumulate military merits, and soar to the sky. The tall and thin middle-aged man's saliva flew everywhere as he spoke with great passion. Many people were also excited by his words. Also, in the Great Void Imperial Sacred Court, there are many cultivation holy lands with heaven-defying effects. However, if you want to cultivate, you have to pay a corresponding price. Then the tall and thin middle-aged man introduced the cultivation holy lands in the Sacred Court. After a full half an hour, he said, "Well, that's all for my introduction. The top 10 prodigies follow me. The rest of you, follow the other teachers and arrange your accommodations." Then the other elders led the others and flew away. Ling also left with them, leaving only the top 10 prodigies and the tall and thin middle-aged man. You are the top 10 prodigies and have obtained the qualification to open a mansion. Naturally, you have some privileges. Follow me. The tall and thin middle-aged man said. Chapter 3241. Lu Ming and the others followed the middle-aged man. After a while, they arrived in front of a floating palace. This is where you will live in the future. There are many large formations in this palace, such as the Spirit Gathering Formation. It will be very beneficial for your cultivation. The middle-aged man introduced. Everyone's eyes lit up. The treatment of the top 10 was indeed different. That's not all. Many cultivation sacred grounds are open to you unconditionally. You don't have to pay a price. You can cultivate as much as you want. The middle-aged man continued. This made Lu Ming even happier. They could cultivate as much as they wanted in many cultivation sacred grounds in the Great Void Imperial Academy. That was awesome. The treatment of the top 10 was too good. Alright, you can choose a palace to live in. Come to me if you have any questions. The middle-aged man said and then turned to leave. Lu Ming and the others began to choose their palaces. The palaces looked similar. They chose one at random. Lu Ming and Qiu Yu chose the two palaces that were close to each other. Lu Ming took out his identity token and swiped it at the door. The door opened automatically. It's indeed extraordinary. Lu Ming exclaimed as he walked into the palace. The palace was huge and magnificent. There were many rooms, courtyards, fake mountains, and everything else. Moreover, the divine qi was shockingly rich. Lu Ming took a deep breath and the divine qi rushed into his mouth. Moreover, he felt his mind calm down here. He could comprehend all kinds of divine skills and secret techniques faster here. The effect of cultivation here was much better than in the Starry Camp. Not to mention anything else, just this point alone was enough to explain why so many people wanted to join the Great Void Imperial Academy. After walking around, Lu Ming came to Qiu Yu's palace and found that it was similar. Qiu Yu, let's go to those cultivation sacred grounds. Lu Ming said. He couldn't wait to go to those cultivation holy lands to take a look. Sure. Qiu Yu smiled. The two of them left the palace together and flew in a random direction. The first thing he had to do was figure out the map of the Great Void Imperial Academy. Are you Lu Ming and Miss Autumn Moon? Just as the two of them flew out of the palace, a clear voice rang out. Lu Ming looked over and saw a young woman walking towards them. The young woman was very beautiful. She could be said to be a peerless beauty. Compared to Autumn Moon and Ling, she was not much inferior. She was wearing a black swordsman's robe, which added to her heroic spirit. You are? Lu Ming revealed a curious look. I'm a student of the Great Void Imperial Academy. I'm from the previous batch. The woman smiled. So it's senior sister. Lu Ming cupped his hands. My name is Chui Wei. I've seen the two of you in the previous meeting. I admire you and want to make friends with you. the young woman said with a smile. She was extremely amiable, making one feel as if they were bathed in a spring breeze. Miss Chui Wei is too polite. Those who can enter the Great Void Imperial Academy are peerless geniuses. The two of us are just lucky, Lu Ming said modestly. Qiuyu didn't say anything. With Lu Ming around, Qiuyu usually didn't speak. She just listened quietly. Are the two of you going to the cultivation sacred grounds to cultivate? Chui Wei turned her gaze and smiled. That's right. Lu Ming nodded. There was nothing to hide. The two of you are new here. I'm afraid you're not familiar with the terrain here. Moreover, there are many cultivation grounds in the Great Void Imperial Academy. I'm afraid it won't be easy to find them. I happen to be free, so I can introduce them to you, Chui Wei said. Then I'll have to trouble you, Miss Chui Wei. Lu Ming cupped his fists. The Great Void Imperial Academy had a vast territory. The terrain was indeed troublesome for them as they were new here. It would be much better if someone introduced them to them. What kind of cultivation do the two of you want to cultivate? Chui Wei asked. It should be related to the divine power of origin factor, Lu Ming said. He was most interested in this aspect. After all, he had 10 types of divine force to comprehend. This type of cultivation sacred ground would save him a lot of time. To comprehend the origin divine force factor, we naturally have to go to the divine statue garden. The two of you follow me. Chui Wei smiled and led the way. Lu Ming and Qiuyu followed. The Great Void Imperial Academy was indeed vast. There were countless buildings. After walking around for a long time, they arrived in front of a huge building. If no one led them, they would have gotten dizzy. This is the Divine Statue Garden. The effects of comprehending the origin divine force factor, or origin secret technique, are excellent. However, if you want to cultivate in the Divine Statue Garden, you have to meet certain requirements, Chui Wei said. Requirements? Didn't the top 10 have no requirements and can cultivate to their heart's content? Lu Ming said. The top 10 have very good treatment and can cultivate to their heart's content in many cultivation sacred grounds. However, the Divine Statue Garden is not included, Chui Wei explained. It can't be, right? Lu Ming was speechless. He liked the Divine Statue Garden the most, but he couldn't cultivate to his heart's content. Then what are the requirements to cultivate in the Divine Statue Garden? Do you need divine crystals or contribution points? Lu Ming asked. Many places had similar requirements. None of them. Chui Wei shook her head and said, You need purgatory points. Purgatory points? Lu Ming and Qiuyu were puzzled. What were purgatory points? In the Great Void Imperial Academy, you can't fight. However, there is a place called the Purgatory Arena. You can fight to your heart's content there. Many geniuses will go there to temper themselves. Most importantly, you can hide your identity in the Purgatory Arena and not be recognized by others. After fighting in the Purgatory Arena and winning, you can obtain Purgatory points. Purgatory points are used to cultivate in the Divine Statue Garden. Chui Wei explained. I see. What a strange rule. Lu Ming mumbled. Forget it, let's go somewhere else to cultivate, Lu Ming said. He would first familiarize himself with the place and increase his strength before going to the Purgatory Arena to fight and obtain Purgatory points. Otherwise, even though Lu Ming had obtained third place, it would be dangerous for him to go to the Purgatory Arena. One had to know that the previous batch of students had cultivated here for many years. Who knew what cultivation they had reached? There are many cultivation sacred grounds in the Great Void Imperial Academy, but there are only a few famous ones. They are the Divine Statue Garden, the Yin Yang Millstone, the Myriad Tribulation Pagoda, the Soul Refining Abyss, Chui Wei introduced. Among them, the Divine Statue Garden was a place to comprehend origin divine power and origin secret arts. The Yin Yang Millstone could temper one's divine power and divine body. It could even increase one's cultivation. The Myriad Tribulation Pagoda was a place to train one's combat ability and secret arts. The Soul Refining Abyss was a place to temper one's soul. The Purgatory Arena was a place to fight to the death and obtain purgatory points. In addition, there were also places to train one's refining skills, alchemy, formation, and so on. There were all kinds of sacred grounds here. Cui Wei brought Lu Ming and Qiu Yu around the Great Void Imperial Academy to familiarize themselves with these cultivation sacred grounds. Chapter 32-42. Lu Ming and Autumn Moon thank Cui Wei. Without Cui Wei leading the way, they would have had plenty of time to explore the Great Void Sacred Institute. It's my honor to be able to befriend two peerless geniuses. If there's anything you need, feel free to send me a message. Cui Wei smiled. After exchanging their methods of communication, Cui Wei left. Young master, where do you want to go to cultivate? Autumn Moon asked. Let's go to the Yin-Yang Millstone first. Lu Ming said. The Yin-Yang Millstone could temper one's divine body and divine power. It could also raise one's cultivation base. If one's divine power and divine body were raised, one's combat strength would also increase. Of course he would choose the Yin-Yang Millstone. I want to go too. Autumn Moon nodded. Immediately, the two of them headed towards the Yin-Yang Millstone. At the entrance of the Yin-Yang Millstone, Lu Ming and Autumn Moon were stopped. That was because one needed divine crystals to cultivate in the Yin-Yang Millstone. Moreover, the number of divine crystals required was shockingly high. However, when the two of them showed their identity medallions, they naturally did not need to pay any divine crystals. So the two of you are the top 10 geniuses of this competition. You don't need to pay any divine crystals to cultivate in the Yin-Yang Millstone. You can cultivate for as long as you want. These are 2 teleportation medallions. Take them. Cultivating in the Yin-Yang Millstone is still a little dangerous. When you feel that you can't take it anymore, activate the teleportation medallion. It will bring you out. An old man guarding the Yin-Yang Millstone handed Lu Ming and Autumn Moon a teleportation medallion each. The two of them put it away and thanked him. Then they walked through the gate. Following a mountain path, they soon arrived at the peak of a mountain. In the center of the mountain, there was an unfathomably deep cave. Lu Ming saw that on the flat ground around the cave, there were many young men and women sitting cross-legged cultivating. He also saw someone jump down from the cave and into the cave. On the flat ground, there were flashes of light and figures suddenly appeared. They were all as tired as dead dogs. The moment they appeared, they hurriedly swallowed elixirs to recover. Obviously, the Yin-Yang Millstone was inside the cave. Some of them went in, and some of them came out. These people have such profound cultivation bases. Lu Ming sensed a little, and was secretly shocked. The auras of those young men and women were intimidating. Most of them were at the 3rd sky of King God realm. Some of them were even stronger than that. Almost all of these people were from the previous batch of geniuses who had joined the Taishu Imperial Family Academy. They had been cultivating in the Taishu Imperial Family Academy for many years, and their cultivation levels were unfathomable. It was said that the strongest group of people had already gone out to train. Those who were still in the Taishu Imperial Sacred Academy could not be considered very strong. That is, then Lu Ming and Autumn Moon were attracted by a huge stone tablet. Not far away, there was a huge stone tablet. It was tens of thousands of feet tall, and names appeared on it. Jingyu. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes widened because he saw a name at the top of the stone tablet. Jingyu. Jingyu's name was at the top. You must be new here. This stone tablet has the record of those who have cultivated in the Yin-Yang Millstone for the longest time. In the Yin-Yang Millstone, you have to bear a great pressure. No one can cultivate for a long time. Jingyu holds the record for the longest time. He cultivated for 999 days in a row. A young man explained. He was amazed at the end of his explanation. It's a record tablet. Lu Ming's heart jumped. He took a closer look and saw that there was a time record behind each name. Jingyu held the record. He cultivated for 999 days in a row in the Yin-Yang Millstone. The second was 889 days, which was more than 100 days less than Jingyu. Lu Ming saw Blue Merchant's name at the 10th place. He had cultivated for 732 days. There were a total of 1,000 names on the stone tablet. Obviously, this was not the record of one batch of students, but the record of all the geniuses since the Taishu Imperial Sacred Academy was established. Lu Ming glanced at it, and then walked towards the cave with Autumn Moon. Autumn Moon, go for it. Young master, you too. The two of them smiled at each other, and then jumped into the yin-yang millstone. The moment he leaped into the yin-yang millstone, Lu Ming felt a powerful force pulling him, causing him to fall rapidly. However, after a while, the falling momentum stopped. Thereafter, Lu Ming felt a terrifying force pressing on his body. His body trembled and almost exploded. He hurriedly circulated his divine power to block it. Only then did he feel slightly better. That is, afterward, Lu Ming looked around and his pupils involuntarily constricted. The world was filled with two different colors of light. One was red, the other was white. The two colors were two types of energy. These two types of energy occupied one side and formed two huge millstones. They were rotating slowly, as if they were going to crush everything. Lu Ming was still at the edge of the millstone, but he was being pulled towards the center of the millstone by a force. The closer he was to the center of the millstone, the more terrifying the crushing force was. Lu Ming's divine power trembled. Is this the yin-yang millstone? It's terrifying. I have to block it, Lu Ming growled. All his divine power exploded. His ancient god heart was beating violently. His muscles bulged and he used all his strength to defend himself. At this moment, Lu Ming followed the force and entered the center of the two millstones. Suddenly, Lu Ming's body trembled violently. The divine power around him kept vibrating. A terrifying force rushed into his divine power defense and crushed his divine body. It was as if it was going to tear his divine body apart. Waves of pain spread throughout his body. Block it. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and resisted with his divine power and divine body. The millstone kept rotating. The two types of energy intertwined and crushed Lu Ming's body. Persevere, persevere. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and persevered. Unknowingly, he had been cultivating in the yin-yang millstone for 2 hours. Lu Ming felt that his divine body was about to collapse. There was a tearing pain. In this place, divine power couldn't defend against all the forces. No matter how strong one's divine power was, there would be a force that would rush into the divine power defense and attack the divine body. If the divine body wasn't strong, no matter how strong one's divine power was, they wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Nestle, this is too difficult. It's only been 2 hours, but I feel like 2 years have passed. How did Senior Jingyu persevere for 999 days? It's amazing, Lu Ming exclaimed. However, at the same time, he also realized the benefits. In the process of persevering and being crushed by the yin-yang millstone, there was a mysterious force that seeped into his divine body and divine power. It made his divine body and divine power stronger slowly. This speed of improvement was many times faster than when he was cultivating step by step outside. It's really effective. Let's continue. Lu Ming continued to grit his teeth and persevere. 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours. Soon Lu Ming had persevered in the yin-yang millstone for 2 days. Chapter 3243. After 2 days in the yin-yang millstone, Lu Ming had reached his limit. Cracks began to appear on his body. He looked like a cracked porcelain that would shatter at any moment. Pain and fatigue were intertwined. Lu Ming wanted to have a good sleep. If this continued, he would really be crushed to death by the yin-yang millstone. It's about time. Let's go out first. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and took out the teleportation talisman. He injected his divine power into it, and a force enveloped Lu Ming. In the next moment, Lu Ming disappeared from the yin-yang millstone and appeared outside the entrance. As soon as he came out, Lu Ming gasped for breath. He then took out a few divine pills and stuffed them into his mouth. He then sat down cross-legged and started cultivating the universe myriad Dao technique. There were experts from the Great Void Imperial family guarding this place. No one dared to cause trouble here, so he could recover to his heart's content. After 3 days, Lu Ming had completely recovered to his peak state. He was in great condition. My cultivation and divine body have improved a little. Lu Ming was overjoyed. After 2 days of grinding, his cultivation base and divine body had improved a little. It was very difficult to improve one's cultivation after reaching the Divine King realm. Every step required a lot of energy and resources. He had only cultivated for 2 days. It was very rare for him to make such progress. Continue. Lu Ming rushed into the yin-yang millstone again, and started the hellish cultivation. The second time, Lu Ming persisted for a little longer. He lasted for 3 days. It's only been 3 days. Senior Jingyu has lasted 999 years. The difference is too big. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. What he didn't know was that there were very few people who could last more than a day in the yin-yang millstone. Many people could only last for a few hours on their first or second time. There were even some who could last for a few minutes before being defeated. After 3 days, Lu Ming came out and continued to recover. He felt that his cultivation and divine body had improved a little. Then he continued to enter. Just like that, Lu Ming cultivated in the yin-yang millstone wholeheartedly. Every time he reached his limit, he would come out and recover when he was tired. Day after day, year after year. Slowly, Lu Ming could last longer in the yin-yang millstone. From the first 2 days, 3 days, 10 days, 20 days, cultivation knew no time. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had cultivated in the yin-yang millstone for 100 years. At this time, he could last 3 years in the yin-yang millstone. His harvest was also huge. Not to mention other things, his god body had become 1 level stronger. His muscles, bones, and internal organs had become more tenacious and powerful. His ancient god heart was beating with vigorous vitality. The stronger the divine body, the more stamina he had. When he used the ancient god body, he could last longer. At the same time, when he activated the battle formula to increase his fighting power by 5 times, he could last longer. Lu Ming's cultivation level had also improved significantly. He had reached the second heaven of the king god realm. He only cultivated for 100 years, and reached the second layer of the king god realm. Lu Ming revealed a smile. He was very satisfied. 100 years passed in the blink of an eye for a king god realm warrior. It was too short. Ordinary king god realm warriors needed 10,000 years to break through 1 level. It could take hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years, or even tens of millions of years. However, Lu Ming could break through 1 level in 100 years. Moreover, he cultivated 10 different kinds of divine power at the same time. This speed was already terrifying. Of course, it was related to his innate talent. He also needed the measure character formula to refine the energy of the stellar nucleus and the yin-yang millstone. That was why he could break through so fast. After breaking through to the second king god realm, Lu Ming's fighting competence had increased by 1 level. Unfortunately, the origin of the divine power didn't increase. To break through to the third king god realm from the second king god realm, even with the help of the yin-yang millstone, I'm afraid it will take me at least 300 years. I'm not in a hurry. I should go to other places to cultivate. Lu Ming pondered. He waited here until Autumn Moon came out of the yin-yang millstone. Then he and Autumn Moon left this place and went to the next holy place to cultivate. The next holy place was the soul refining abyss. The soul refining abyss could train the soul. Moreover, they used to cultivate in the soul refining abyss for free because they were 10. In the following period of time, the 2 of them cultivated in the soul refining abyss to refine and cleanse their souls, making their souls stronger. The stronger the soul, the stronger the spiritual consciousness. If they met someone from the 9 Serenities Heavenly King Mansion who could affect the soul, their soul defense would be stronger. After cultivating in the soul refining abyss for a while, Lu Ming and Autumn Moon went to another holy place to cultivate, the Thousand Tribulation Tower. In the Thousand Tribulation Tower, they could cultivate divine skills and secret techniques. Just like that, Lu Ming and Autumn Moon went back and forth between the holy places to cultivate. Other people had to pay a price to cultivate in these holy places. However, Lu Ming and Autumn Moon did not need to pay at all. They used these resources to improve themselves, enrich themselves, and make themselves stronger. They were improving rapidly in all aspects. Soon, they entered the Great Void Imperial family's holy court. 300 years had passed. My origin divine power factor did not improve much. Only the primordial dragon energy has awakened it. Lu Ming pondered. Among the 10 types of divine powers that Lu Ming cultivated, only the Dominator's divine power had awakened the divine power of origin factor twice. The other 7 types of divine powers had awakened the divine power of origin factor once. There were also 2 types of divine powers that had not awakened the divine power of origin factor. After all these years of cultivation, the primordial dragon energy had finally awakened the origin divine power factor. Now only the divine eye heavenly energy had not awakened the origin divine power factor. However, Lu Ming felt that it was too slow. He was eager to go to the Garden of Gods to cultivate. With my current battle strength, I should be able to get some points if I go to the Purgatory Arena. Lu Ming thought. After Autumn Moon finished her cultivation, he would tell Autumn Moon. Autumn Moon agreed readily. She also wanted to get some points and go to the Garden of Gods to cultivate. The Garden of Gods had such strict requirements. The effect would definitely be extraordinary. Lu Ming was full of expectations. Immediately, the 2 of them moved and went to the Purgatory Arena. Brother Lu Ming, Miss Autumn Moon. Lu Ming and the others were on the way to the Purgatory Arena when they heard someone calling them. It was Cui Wei. Miss Cui Wei, what a coincidence. Lu Ming greeted with a smile. It is indeed a coincidence. Are you going to the Purgatory Arena? Cui Wei smiled. Yes, let's go to the Purgatory Arena and see if we can earn some Purgatory points to cultivate in the Garden of Gods. Lu Ming said. What a coincidence. I'm going to the Purgatory Arena too. Why don't we go together? Cui Wei said. That's great. Lu Ming nodded. Immediately, the 3 of them went to the Purgatory Arena. Soon, a few huge buildings appeared in front of them. These buildings all looked like arenas. There were a total of 3 of them, and they were all connected together. Chapter 3244. The Purgatory Arena is divided into 3 areas according to cultivation base. 1st to 3rd layer of King God Realm are divided into one area. 4th to 6th layer of King God Realm are divided into another area. And 7th to 9th layer of King God Realm are divided into another area. People with the same cultivation base can only fight in a certain area. For example, from the 1st to the 3rd King God layer, they can only fight in the 1st area. Of course, they can also go to the 2nd and 3rd areas. That's just courting death. And those with higher cultivation bases can't enter the lower areas to fight. Cui Wei explained. So there are different areas. Lu Ming was moved. It was a pity. If he had known that there were different areas, he would have come to the Purgatory Arena to fight. He wasn't afraid of anyone from 1st to 3rd layer of King God Realm, unless he encountered a monster like Di Jiani. Brother Lu Ming, which area are you going to? Cui Wei asked. The 1st area, of course. Lu Ming said. The 1st area was for 1st to 3rd layer of King God Realm. The 2nd area was for 4th to 6th layer of King God Realm, and the 3rd area was for 7th to 9th layer of King God Realm. You can get a mask when you enter the Purgatory Arena. Wearing this mask can hide your identity. Therefore, when you fight in the Purgatory Arena, people won't know who you are. Cui Wei said. The 3 of them entered the 1st area and were stopped by the guards. They filled in their information and received a Shura mask each. After putting on the Azura mask, a mysterious energy spread out from the mask, turning into a black fog that shrouded their bodies. Lu Ming looked at Qiu Qiu and Cui Wei. He could barely see their figures and knew that they were women. However, the color of their clothes and their appearance were all covered. Even his spiritual consciousness couldn't see through them. Not bad. Lu Ming smiled. It was best if they could hide their identities to gain points. Lu Ming had many enemies. If they couldn't hide their identities, he was afraid of being targeted. Moreover, there was a number on each of their Shura masks. Lu Ming was 11111. Autumn Moon was 11112. And Cui Wei was 11113. Putting on their masks, the 3 of them walked in. The Purgatory Arena was actually an arena. There was a huge fighting ring in the middle. Around the fighting ring, there were rows of seats and many spectators. However, those who entered this place were all wearing Azura masks. It was impossible to recognize their true appearances. At this moment, the crowd was cheering. 2 figures were fighting fiercely in the fighting ring. The faces of the 2 people fighting could not be seen clearly, but it could be seen that they were both men. One was tall and sturdy, while the other was tall and thin. The two of them were engaged in an intense battle. Their cultivation bases were at the third king god realm, and they had awakened the god power of the origin. In fact, being able to enter the Great Void Imperial Academy was a testament to one's talent. After cultivating in the Great Void Imperial Academy for so many years, most people would be able to awaken their divine origin power. The two of them fought for more than 100 moves. In the end, the tall and thin man was defeated. He found a chance to rush down the fighting ring. In the end, he was pushed down from the fighting ring. Number 3689 wins. This is 3 consecutive wins. You get 3 purgatory points. A deep voice reverberated in the arena. The points here are calculated according to the number of wins. You get 1 point for each win. If you get 2 consecutive wins, you get 2 points at once. Plus the previous points, you get 3 points. If you get 3 consecutive wins, you get 3 points at once. Plus the previous points, you get 6 points. So on and so forth. Cui Wei sent a message to Lu Ming and Autumn Moon to explain. Lu Ming understood. In this place, the more consecutive wins, the more points one would get. However, the battles here are not limited to one person. If someone gets too many consecutive wins, the manager of the Purgatory Arena will arrange for many people to join hands to fight against one person. For example, if someone gets 50 consecutive wins and continues to fight, he may face many people joining hands to fight against him. It is said that the record in the Purgatory Arena is held by Jingyu. His highest record is to challenge 99 experts at the same time. Cui Wei continued to explain. Jingyu again. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He found that many records in the Great Void Imperial Academy were held by Jingyu. It could be seen how amazing Jingyu was in the past. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was the first in the history of the Taishu dynasty, fighting 99 people at the same time. Really amazing. Lu Ming sighed. One should know that everyone here was a genius. It was extremely terrifying to be able to fight 99 people at the same time. Of course, it also depends on luck. If you encounter a genius of the same level as you naturally can't challenge so many people at the same time. Cui Wei smiled. Then, Cui Wei introduced the rules of the Purgatory Arena. There were no taboos in fighting in the Purgatory Arena. One was responsible for his own life and death. No one would care if he died in the arena. At the same time, admitting defeat with one's mouth was not considered as admitting defeat. If you couldn't win and wanted to admit defeat, you had to rush down the arena to admit defeat. Only then would your opponent stop chasing you. Number 3689. Do you want to continue? The deep voice sounded. Yes. Number 3689 replied. Let me fight you. As soon as number 3689 finished his words, a figure rushed up to the arena from the stands. Everyone saw that the number on his mask was 5555. Kill. Without saying anything more, the two of them started to fight fiercely. Both of them were in the third king god realm. The battle was extremely fierce. After more than 100 moves, number 5555 won, ending his opponent's 3 consecutive victories. However, although number 5555 had defeated his opponent, he was injured and did not continue to fight. Young master, let me try. Qiuyu sent a message to Lu Ming. He was eager to try. Go, be careful. Lu Ming reminded him. Don't worry. Qiuyu smiled and flew up, landing on the arena. Then her aura diffused. She had the cultivation base of the third king god realm. There was a gap between the third king god realm and the fourth king god realm. It was not easy to break through. After years of cultivation, Qiuyu had reached the peak of the third king god realm. She was only one step away from the fourth king god realm. Qiuyu had been in the fourth king god realm for 100 years. However, Lu Ming estimated that Qiuyu would break through soon. Look at her body. She's a girl. Haha, I like to bully girls. Leave it to me. A rough voice sounded, and then a figure landed on the fighting ring. Girl, I don't want to kill you. Get out of the arena. The man shouted and threw a punch at Qiuyu. He was also in the third king god realm. Swish. Qiuyu slashed his saber and broke the man's defense. That person let out a blood-curdling scream as his body flew backwards and landed heavily on the battle stage. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and a saber mark appeared on his chest. His entire body had almost been split in half. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.